Hello viewers, thank you again for joining us on the Discovery Show TDS TV on Facebook and on YouTube, a show that seeks to interview professionals in the diaspora and beyond who are making significant impact in areas including healthcare, politics, religion, academia and the likes. Today again we are here to interview another person making significant impact, and I am your host Precious Adadidodo, ably supported by James Opon and Aaron Cosmos Opoku. Today we are privileged to be speaking to one nurse making significant impact. Her name is Priscilla Ache Ateji. You are welcome, Priscilla.
Thank you, Precious.
And happy to see you.
Good to see you too.
Wonderful. And you are the first female on this platform, and we don't take it lightly. Thank you for joining us, spending time with us.
No worries. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are you able to share a little bit about yourself? Who is Priscilla?
Well, it's quite difficult talking about oneself, but well, Priscilla is a nurse and she's a mom, and yeah, I think that's just me for now. Maybe while we get talking, then little bits of my, my personality will come out. But I'm just a simple person who's, who's grateful to be here and happy to be doing what I'm doing.
Great, that's great. May we know how you started life, where you grew up, what are some of the experiences you had you want to share with us?
Okay, so I'm a Nigerian and I grew up in a small town called Jos in Nigeria. So somewhere in the north, well not really the north, the middle belt of Nigeria.
Okay. And
I had my primary, secondary and university education in the same small town. So I would say I'm a small town girl.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think while I was growing up, I didn't know what I wanted to do like as a profession. But my mom is a guidance counselor, so she kind of guided me into nursing. Because I think she wanted to be a nurse when she was growing up, but she didn't get to be a nurse, so she ended up being a teacher. So she was always, okay, would you like to do nursing? But I was like, no, I think I would rather be a doctor. And then later on she said, you know what, I think you make a great nurse, so why don't you think of nursing? So I think she kind of guided me into nursing. So when I finished secondary school, then I applied for nursing in the university in a town then, and then I got accepted, so that was just it.
Wow, that's great. From what you just said, it means counseling, career counseling or guidance counseling is really critical to our lives. Yeah. How well is that integrated into our educational system, especially growing up? Do you think it's well integrated?
I think sometimes it's just like a hit and miss, And if my mom wasn't a counselor, because at that time, the school I was in, there were just very few of them. So you need somebody who can, see your qualities from the outside. Because inwardly, you might not even know what you want to do or what you're strong at. But someone outside can see your strengths and your weaknesses. So my mom said, you're very strong with, caring for people, you're compassionate. But at the same time, you're not someone who would commit to something for a long time. Not to put down nursing, but if you're going to study medicine, it's a whole lifetime of reading and studying and one exams to another.
Wow. And
she felt that at some point I'll just be like, no, I think I'm done with studying now. Now is the time to play. So she said, why don't you do nursing? Then you can combine, your strengths and your weaknesses together. So you know that at this point I'm a nurse now, and I'm happy. Whereas if you're going to be a doctor, you'd have to keep saying, oh, I need to achieve this, I need to achieve that, I need to achieve this, and it might just take the joy out of everything. So that was her own perception, and people might see it differently. So she said, I don't think you can commit to something for a long time, but try nursing, you would like it, because it's still, essentially still caring, and yeah. So you need somebody from, like we were saying, you need somebody to see your qualities from the outside, then they can help guide you. And we didn't have that growing up. In my school, we had very few counselors, and if you think about a population of students of over 2,000 students in my secondary school, and then you had a department of guidance counselors who were just about 5, people would get missed. So that's the challenge. So for those who would get in contact with that team and who were able to get the counseling they need, they did thrive, in their careers. And for those who got missed or who were not able to make use of those services, at the end of the day, it's like, oh, I've gone into a profession I'm not really happy with. And yes, and I think that's the challenge.
That is exciting. On this platform, the Discovery Show TDS TV, one of the things we do is to champion very important topics that need to be implemented in our society. And I think this is one of the most important things, career guidance in our schools, especially at the lower base, so that people will have a greater picture, combining their strengths and their weaknesses, other than just hitting their heads around and finding it difficult to choose what really fits their situation and personality and all that. I'm happy about that, and we want to use this platform to say a big thank you to your mother for giving you the necessary guidance.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, did you practice for some time in Nigeria before traveling to the UK?
Yes. So, I finished in 2013, and in my country you have to do like a 1-year compulsory service. So I did that, and then I worked for a few years before coming. I did a few years in a private hospital, and then I also went worked as a school nurse in a small school as well. So I just did a little bit of here and there before coming, and that experience also helped me when I came here, because I was not a novice nurse. I did have a few clinical skills and all that just helped me to be grounded. Yeah, so I feel it's very important to get a bit of experience before thinking of if you want to leave the country before going outside the country. So that helped me.
That's great. That's great. That's great. So you are not just having just lived in the rural areas, you've worked there, you've also lived in the urban areas, so you are a blend of both.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. Now, currently practicing in the United Kingdom, a developed country, what are some of the challenges you've identified with healthcare systems back home, juxtaposing that with the healthcare system we have in the United Kingdom?
Well, there's a big difference, and when you come here, the first thing that would hit you is, how do I replicate this back home? And then you would think about that for months and months, and then you realize that you're just one person. You can't bring the whole healthcare system in your country down. You can't replace it in one day. So you might just be doing just a little bit of what you can to help. And although I haven't done anything yet, but I feel like someday I'll be able to go back and help. So the difference is really big. So at the basic level, the preventative medicine here, we don't have that back home, and we always see prevention is better than cure. So at the grassroots in the UK, you'd find out that they would identify, the health problems that people have. They would foresee what it would look like, and then they would try to solve it before it becomes a problem. So here we know that the diagnosis here of illnesses is really spot on.
Okay.
But when I was in Nigeria, you would have people presenting to healthcare facilities when the illness is already far gone, and at that stage there's nothing that can be done. So that's the challenge. And also it was also really scary, because I remember when I came, the first thing is to register with the GP.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, if I just go to the GP now, they're just going to find something wrong in my body. Because they would check and check and check, and they do all the tests. And although you're healthy, but they still want to run all the tests. And it just really scared me because we didn't have that back home. You would never go to to see your doctor if nothing was wrong with you. But here, you would go, and if there was something, then they would find it and then sort it out quickly. So I would say prevention at the level of the primary care prevention is very good here. The ways of diagnosing illness is very good here. You can do an X-ray easily for someone. You can order a CT scan easily for someone, and you would use that to, treat people. But back home, that was like a luxury. Then if you go to secondary care, it's just on another level, So, and also when you look at the way the health system in the whole country is kind of unified, and you could send someone to go to a different county, and that information would still, nothing would be lost.
It's readily available.
It's readily available, but we also didn't have that back home. It's just one, in the UK, it's just one NHS. Although it's in different places, but it just feels like it is one. But back home, our healthcare system, if at the government, at the federal government, and at the state government, they are different.
Okay.
So those are the challenges. Then, if you look at the how do I say, the workforce back home, there isn't any active there's no active agenda of trying to get talents or try to the ones that we have now, or let's say the doctors that we have now, let's make sure that they're here and we appreciate them and they stay with us. Or the nurses that we have now, let's make sure that they're here and we stay with them and develop our workforce. There isn't anything like that, which is a shame, because that's where people just get disillusioned and then they just want to leave because there's no appreciation in the first place. For example, if you had a teaching hospital back in my country, you have a teaching hospital, you have over 200 doctors graduating from that university. There isn't any active mechanism to mop up all of these doctors and make sure that they stay with us. Yeah? And you have nurses graduating from that university. Those same nurses would a whole year, they might not even have a job. And at that same teaching hospital, you have vacancies, you have short staff, you have all of these issues. So it's like there's no agenda to retain talent, and that is where we're also having problems. If you don't have doctors, if the good doctors you have are leaving, the good nurses you have are leaving the country, what happens to the workforce? What happens to patient care? So there's so many things that I never ever thought of leaving my country. Even up until when I graduated uni, I was like, this is my country. I'm going to stay here, and make it good. I'm going to make something of my life here, because I know everyone, once you say nursing, they just think of you're going to America. But no, I never thought of that. But it just took one thing to just make me say, look, I have to take care of myself first. I have to take care of my family first before I can take care of the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
So my dad always said, you make a difference in your family before you can make a difference in your community. Then you can now think of making a difference in the world. So that's just, so maybe one day we could go back and do something better.
Oh, frankly, I agree perfectly with Priscilla on so many counts, and I think that it's not just a situation peculiar to Nigeria, but most African countries and other countries as well. This is a strong plea to our government and our leaders. Certain professions like nurses, doctors, and all the necessary or essential healthcare workers, you don't need to literally let them stay at home after graduation. It's literally become a political thing. and after graduation, political parties are just playing chess with that, and they are looking at who is going to recruit them and all that. Meanwhile, our health system is suffering big time. We encourage our leaders to put in place the necessary measures so that we wouldn't have this exodus. Like she said, most of us really wanted to stay in our countries and make impact. But, I mean, the situations will literally push you out. So, to our leaders, please make the necessary efforts, and then we will also stay and contribute effectively to our system. Thank you for that exposition. I think it is well admitted to. We want to come back to you. Yeah. I know you are a practice development nurse. What does it entail?
Okay, so before I became a practice development nurse, when I came to the UK, I did work stats on the wards as a band 5 nurse, and that I feel like that was very important so that I can get used to what the whole system is like, and also get my hands on, get back to clinical work and all that. So that's where I started. Then after I think about a year and 8 months, then I moved to the practice development team. So that was my journey. And practice development is more of education. So we're no longer with patients, but the staff, especially the nursing staff, are now our patients. We have to make sure they are okay. We have to make sure that the training that we offer, they're well received, and that's just what we do. So mostly teaching, education, clinical support for the staff. For the nursing staff.
Wow. Viewers, again, we are reminding you that you are watching the Discovery Show TDS TV on Facebook and on YouTube, and we are speaking to a practice development nurse by name Priscilla Ateji. I have been your host, Precious Adadidodo, ably supported by James Opon and Aaron Cosmos Opoku. Priscilla, we just want to dwell a little bit on practice development nurse. What you're saying, I'm sure you didn't have time to talk about some of the other challenges. I know sometimes back home we organize workshops and all that for healthcare workers, but specifically having a practice development department that sees to the development and welfare of healthcare workers, especially let's say nurses, to this level, I don't think we do have it. To what extent do you think this department is impacting positively on healthcare workers?
It's really important, because I think back home you would have people, in this kind of roles, but it's in addition to their clinical role. And I feel like it wasn't just, it should be separated so that they would have time to develop on that. It's very important, because you know that if you're a nurse, you know that there's somebody else I can go and ask about this issue I'm having problems with. If I cannot speak to someone who is my direct line manager or on the ward, it's good to have that external colleague that you can share issues with, that can help you with some skills. Sometimes it's a bit too much for the superiors on the ward. It's a bit too much for them to combine their own roles and then help with someone who's just trying to find their feet. So I feel like it's very important in every profession as well, not just in nursing, to have that team that is just dedicated to helping someone who has come into the profession, helping them to grow. That's what our team does. So once you come in, you're not just left on your own to find your feet, which is what happens back home. As soon as you come into nursing, it's like you have to be the one to find your feet. You have to be seeking for the information yourself. You have to get all these skills yourself. And if you're lucky, then that's just it. You might not learn all of those skills, but there should just be a dedicated pathway to that. As soon as you've graduated from uni and then you started your first job, this is the pathway, and this is the person who will guide you through that path. So it's very important.
That is good to know. Practice development is very, very important. Just a little bit. If somebody out there, let's say band 5, is looking forward to get to your level, not necessarily practice development nurse, but a step higher, maybe band 6, or maybe somebody in band 6 going up, how did you get there? Because you already said you worked for a year and a half, but back home I know that we have things like maybe you work for 3 years, you're able to apply for promotion, but here it is basically on availability and application. What are some of the things you can share with people who want to advance or move to the next level?
So about progressing, okay, I'll just say when you come into the UK as an overseas nurse, most likely you would start from once you've got your PIN from the Nursing and Midwifery Council in the UK, you most likely start at a level which we call the band 5. And which is the same level of a new UK graduate. So that's where you would start from. Then if you now want to move on to the next promotion, and this is if you are in the NHS, it's a bit different if you are in a private healthcare facility. So in the NHS, you most likely start from a band 5. And if you now want to progress, then you would have to look for opportunities for you to progress. Back home, it was a bit automatic, isn't it? As soon as you finish, you would be, if you're in a government facility, you would be a nursing officer. Then after 3 years, you would go to
senior nursing officer,
nursing officer, principal nursing officer. It was almost like you know that this is just automatic. And it did make us a bit lazy. You don't have to work for it. You just know that it's coming. You might have to, back in Nigeria, I think you might have to write the promotion exam, but nobody ever fails the promotion exam, at least to my knowledge. My mom was in the civil service as well, so no one ever fails it. You just know that it's coming. But in the UK, you'd have to look, there would have to be a vacancy, and you would have to apply for it, and you have to look at the person specification and the job description to see if you fit in. So it means while you are on that your band 5 role, you need to look for courses that you can do that would help you to progress to the next level. You know, kind of preparing yourself that in case I do see this job advertised, then I have the qualifications I need. So it's just about courses. There are courses that you can do that would help you to move on to the next level, and looking for the opportunities as well. So if there's a vacancy that fits into what you would like to do, then you can apply. And if you apply and you do well in the interview, then you get the job. So basically that's just how it is. I have a friend now who was, and it doesn't have to be from 5 to 6 and 6 to 7. I have a friend who's 5, and she's in the role she's in. She was looking for a 6 in that same field, but she saw a 7 in that field, and she looked at the job description and the person's specification. She's got all those, she's fit into the criteria, so she just applied. And I think that's the first band 7 job she's applied for. She went for the interview and did well and got the job.
Oh, great.
So it just means being in the right place at the right time and seeing the job and then going for it. I know some people would kind of limit themselves and say, no, I don't think this is for me. But if you don't try it, you won't know if you will get it.
Sure.
So that's just the way it is. And I also like this system because it makes you put in the hard work. So once you get a role, you know that yes, I tried my best and I got this role. But back home, you just know that it's given to you, and everyone would get the same thing. So there's no competition as much in the system. So I like this system, although you do have to make sure there's a vacancy before you can get into it. So that's the difference. So I think I've answered about how to progress.
I think that is well answered. For quite a number of nurses, sometimes they might feel the progression is a bit bleak for them because they might not know how to move to the next level. But I think she's espoused all that you need to know. You need to do the necessary trainings, have the necessary courses that will prepare you in anticipation for what you want to apply for. So keep challenging yourself, keep moving, spend the extra time developing yourself, and once there's any opportunity, you can grab it. All that we are talking about so far has to deal with those who are already nurses in the UK and need to progress. Priscilla, let's talk about those who are back home, because you had already indicated that at the point you didn't want to travel, you wanted to stay home, make impact, but something happened or you were challenged at one point, you had to come. And I think it's a similar situation for a lot of people here. So therefore, there are other people who also want to travel. That is not to say we want to literally encourage healthcare profession exodus from our countries, no. But individuals who want to develop themselves at point in time, they might want to travel. If there's somebody out there who want to come to the UK to practice as a nurse, what is the process? What is the procedure? We want to share a bit with us.
Okay, so for those who want to come, I usually say if you're well established back home and you're doing well for yourself and you're fulfilled, I don't think there will be any need to come. It has to be those who, are a bit unfulfilled in what they are doing at that time, and then they're looking for something different. So if you do want to come to the UK, I think the first thing is to go to the Nursing and Midwifery Council website, and all the information is there. You would read on what they require. There's like a checklist that would just, once you put in you put in all your details and what you want or where you're from and your education, it will give you a checklist, and then you just go through that checklist and make sure that you have everything required. So the first thing is to go to the NMC UK website. But for me, when I was coming, I'll just say what applied to me.
Okay.
But that might not be what would apply to you if you go to the NMC website. So the first thing is the NMC website. So for me, when I was thinking of coming here, I first of all I went through an agency, and I submitted my CV to the agency, and then the agency gave me a checklist of what I needed to do to get a job here. So that's getting a job. Then registering with the NMC. Mm-hmm. First of all, I wrote the English test. I wrote the IELTS exam, and at that time I think the requirement was to have 7 on all bands. So I wrote that, and I got the required band that was required. And once I wrote that, then I gave a copy of that result to the agency that brought me. And then the agency scheduled an interview for me with the trust I work for now. So I did the interview and passed. So I had a job and just the English test. Then they said, then you need to start your NMC processing before you can come over. So I used that English test, go on the NMC website and start the application. And then the next thing was to write an exam called the CBT. I wrote the CBT and passed that as well. Then you have to submit other paperwork, which is you have to submit records of your education. You have to go to your uni, get the transcripts, and make sure they send the transcript. You just pursue all those things so that they do it quickly. So the university had to send the transcript quickly. Then I had to send, I think, a medical report quickly. I also had to send a letter for my referees of different places I've worked. And they sent all of that. Then the NMC sent back a decision letter saying, yes, I can come to the UK to write the second test of competence. So the first one is the CBT, and the second one is the OSCE. So that decision letter, I sent it to the agency. The agency sent it to the trust, and then they sent me my visa and my tickets. Sent me, not a visa, sorry, the certificate of sponsorship, which I used to apply for the visa, And then I now came to the UK when they sent my ticket. So it took about, okay, so I wrote my English test in April, and then from April, I got the job in the trust in May. So I started my NMC application in May, thereabouts.
Okay.
And by December I was in the UK. So if you look at it, it's just a bit of, it depends on how fast you put it in. If you do it faster, you might even get through earlier. So that was just how long it took me to get here. Yeah. I don't know if I've missed anything else. But I think that's just basically it.
Basically.
Yeah.
Thank you. So for anyone out there who want to practice overseas as a nurse, Priscilla has done us the favor by explaining the process, and I'm sure that will be much beneficial to you. I'm sure some of you might be wondering, how do I fund all these processes? We want to ask Priscilla to help us with that. How is the funding like, Priscilla?
Most employers would support with the cost of relocation. So that's what you might have to look out for an employer that would sponsor a bit of the relocation. But I know in my case I had to get the money for the English exam and write the English exam, and I basically funded everything. But when I came to the UK, they reimbursed me. But for some people, they got the money for the visa sorted while they were still back home, and then I got the flight ticket sent to me, so I didn't have to pay for that as well. So it's very important to look for an employer that would provide the relocation, that has relocation benefits as well. You might need to save some money up for all of the other internal runnings. For example, if you have to travel to go to your university to get the paperwork, you have to pay for your transcript, you have to pay for the DHL paperwork to be sent to the UK. So all of that, you need a bit of savings for that. But ultimately, if you know that this is something you want to do, and you put your mind to it, the money would come one way or the other. You would find the money to do that. Once you put your mind to it and you save and work towards it, then I feel it's achievable. Don't look at the whole amount of how it would cost. Just do it in bits and bits. So I need, I'll use Naira for example. I need 20,000 Naira for this. Look for the 20,000 for that task, and then cross it off. Then you get to the next stage. I need 10,000 Naira for this. Then you look for it and then cross it off. So at the end of the day, it will just be in bits. Yeah. So that was how I did it. And it was worth it in the end, because I'm here now. I have a job now. I can take care of myself. I can travel anywhere I want to go. I can buy, at least to a large extent, I can buy whatever I want for myself. So it was worth it in the end. It's worth it in the end.
That's great. Indeed, whatever you conceive, you can achieve. It is worth in the end. Just pursue it. A journey of 1,000 miles begin with the first step. Don't think about how will I get there. Just start it, and definitely you can achieve it. I'm sure somebody might be wondering, probably I'm a nurse, I want to travel, but I'm married. How do I leave my partner behind? How do you answer to such people?
I think depending on the employer you are working for, you can ask them these questions. Can I come with my family? I know some people who came straight up with their husband and 3 children, or husband and 4 children, and they all came at once. And there are challenges to that as well. But you would have to have that discussion with your employer and see what support they have available. And if not, you can come on your own and then make preparations for your family to join.
All right, that's good. That's good. Good to know. All right, so talking about family, we know you have family. How is everyone doing?
They're all right.
That's great.
My daughter, I have my daughter, and she's doing well. She's settled well now. and no longer accepting Nigerian food. Just a bit shame.
Oh, I see.
She settled in.
That's good. Yeah. I saw one post from you. You were having, I think, 100-meter race with her. And
oh yeah, and I still say I won. And she said, "Mommy, that's not fair."
That's good. That's good. All right. So, generally, how do you deal with the pressure associated with work? I mean, largely people have said that life in the UK is quite stressful. How do you deal with that?
Because from back home, I don't think we have to work this hard.
Okay.
When you come here, the culture of hard work, you know that for whatever you want to earn, you have to work for it. There's no lazing around. Yeah. There's no one to give you anything.
Certainly.
But at the end of the day, you need to think of finding relaxation however you can. So if you finished from work, you could still find something else to do, at the end of the day or the remaining hours of the day that you have. Any day I'm off, when it was just me here, when I had not brought my daughter over, I was on the hospital accommodation. But any day I'm off, I don't just sit in the room. I will just dress up, go to the park, walk to the lake, and then I will just distress.
Okay.
It's very important to find something enjoyable to do, and then you realize that your life is not just work. You can fit in a bit in between.
That is true. I think our social systems back home, if I say home, I mean largely I'm speaking specifically to Africa. I know we have a good social system. You can just wake up, go to any person at all, and that was a great social insurance because at least it gives you a bit of leverage in the society. But here it's literally not like that, so you need to find your own relaxation and distressing techniques, and I think she's already stated that. Find what works for you, and I'm sure you wouldn't go through all the stress that is associated with living here in the United Kingdom. It's been a great time talking to you. Viewers, we thank you for watching the Discovery Show TDS TV. If you want to contact us for any information or make any inquiries, please see the contacts on the screens. You can contact James or you can contact Precious for any inquiries, and we will be happy to help. We still encourage you to watch our videos, to subscribe, to like and to share, so that other people will get encouraged. We believe you are also encouraged as well. We're just coming to the final laps of our interview with Priscilla. It's been an exciting moment. We want to thank you again for joining us. We want you to just look into the camera, and if you have any final words at all, just speak to your audience.
It was nice to meet you all, and final words, stay safe and don't give up.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Priscilla Ateji, for joining us. She is a Nigerian trained nurse who is currently practicing in the United Kingdom, and she's a professional development nurse or a practice development nurse. She sees the progress and the development of colleague nurses in general, and I think I'm happy to confer or to say that she's doing it so well. She executes her work with integrity and with the excellence that is needed, and we encourage you to also aspire to get to wherever you want to get to. Thank you again for watching the Discovery Show. We encourage you to subscribe to our channel on Facebook and on YouTube, and we will be happy you did. My name is Precious Adadidiodo. I have been your host and ably supported by James Opon and Aaron Cosmos Opoku. Thank you. See you some other time.